make sure the economy grows is make sure that money is circulating in the pockets of people. Because for an economy to grow, you need to up production, but you also need to up consumption. The things I have just explained, including now with heightened crisis, and the Strait of Hormuz now, Iran says it's permanently now closed, as of yesterday, as of this morning rather, is that all this, when so much money is not circulating, it means that there is nobody to consume goods and services. When the things I have just talked about and Prof has added in terms of the cost of living, in terms of the cost of goods, it means two things. One, because incomes are not improving. From 2020, real incomes have actually been going down. And I dare anybody to just look at their own salaries, and look at how much you could afford in 2019 and what you can afford today, and factoring in inflation. And you see, the discussion that inflation, which is now going up, by the way, inflation has started going up again. Inflation is the increase in the cost of basic goods, how they're expanding. The fact that they expanded at 4% last year does not mean they did not expand. They only expanded with a smaller margin than 8%, than 9% where they were. So which means year on year, the cost of accessing basic goods and services and food is going up. Last year it went up, but by a smaller margin, but it's still going up, it's still compounding. But salaries and real incomes are not going up. And therefore what that means is that the money within the economy is not circulating. But let me come to public debt. And Prof, if you allow me, I would still put public participation, I work a lot on that. Public-private partnerships and securitization, they all need to be part of debt. As of now, they are not considered as part of debt stock.
Why?
Add pending bills.
I'm coming to that.
One would imagine that the debt is described as something that's owed.
As of now, the reason for that is, and that's why there's an argument that they are not part of debt. But remember, every public-private partnership is guaranteed by government. The private investor will not go at a loss. If today Kenyans decided none of them will use the expressway, the one who built the expressway will not lose their money. Turkana wind project, we've not consumed a lot of the power from there.
True.
But we are still paying. So the SGR, it's not once, it's not twice we have put in money. So the investor will never lose. So I consider it part of debt, and I'm pushing that needs to be included as part of the total debt stock. All the guarantees to the state corporations, the same ones that actually charge. But let me finish my thought process. That because of all these demands of government, and I'm still not convinced that government does not want to borrow more, because when you look at it right now, we are talking about 1.1 trillion or 1,100 of deficit that needs to be borrowed. But that is a figure as of now. Last year, let me give you an example. Last year we started with 900. We are ending the financial year at 1,100. The deficit has increased. Borrowing domestically is going to be now 90%. 90% of these 1.1, about 950 billion, is going to be borrowed domestically. What does that mean? Because I want to add it why the economy is not growing. It means that government is actually competing and out-competing, out-maneuvering everybody else in the domestic credit market. But the interesting thing is that now it's accessing credit at a cheaper rate. So when the CBR comes down, government will access it at 10%, because the CBR now is 8.7. It was retained at 8.75% by the Monitoring Policy Committee yesterday, the day before yesterday. But for you go try to take a loan for your company or for you as an individual, the banks will shoot you at 17%.
But we know already that for any economy-facing government, that this domestic borrowing should actually be saved for MSMEs, those who are building. They're the ones who actually build an economy.
Precisely.
So when we look at a budget being built, should we not be leaving that money towards the infrastructure and manufacturing that the Cabinet Secretary will mention today? Should that money not be ring-fenced for the actual economy builders in any budget?
Precisely. And unfortunately, the sectors that you see there is no much growth in terms of investment is actually manufacturing. Our contribution, manufacturing as a contribution to the GDP, and we can check in the economic survey, it's important that Prof raised it up, is actually not growing. Yet that is where the productive sector, where you actually can employ, because Kenya, as it is, we are still going to depend on human labor. It is the only way to get people out of poverty. When you are talking about 40% poverty rate, when you're talking about 7 out of every 10 between 15 and 35 are out of work, the only way to get that moving is to make sure they have work.
Yes.
And the investment, you're right, it should be in ensuring that MSMEs have loans. You know, when you look at, for instance, the total money that is being said is being given to the youth, it's just about 15 billion shillings.
Right.
Whether you think about Nyota, you think about, I checked in the report, but they're just about 15 billion or thereabout. That's a very small amount when you think about the millions you are thinking. Yet, employment will not be created by giving money to Aseto. Employment will be created by ensuring there are industries that can absorb Aseto and 20 others and 30 others and across different value chains. And I keep asking, where did the value chains go? The 7 of them, the Kenya Kwanza, so because if you don't attack it from all these different angles, it becomes a thing of Nyota, gather people in a public stadia, give them 25,000, half of it they go to buy phones or whatever, treat themselves, and they, in the argument of if my money cannot solve my problems, I better eat it, and then at the end of the day, you cannot show what businesses have been established. And assuming the businesses are established, you still need a consumption chain that actually can demand these services. So right now, demand is actually suppressed.
Yeah.